Welcome to the issues of sports. It has been more than a minute. I am your host, Evan Makovsky, joined by my co-host, Rudy Rude Dog Reyes. Before we get into today's topic, which is not a positive one, it involves a shooting at 345 Park Avenue in Manhattan. That's where the NFL is, among other large companies, but the NFL was being targeted. But we'll get into that in a second. Root Dog, though, it's so nice to be back with you. How are you?
That's a loaded question. I'm doing good. Otherwise, as you would see, there is no background. This is straight out of a movie script, if you
Straight out of
will.
Compton, straight out of Compton. With that
I
movie, 2000.
well,
Where's Easy E, the actor who played Easy E? Is he going to be roll up on you during the podcast?
well, let's hope not. If he does, he better be in a 6'4".
There you go. There you go. Chevy. I am wearing a hat. I'm wearing a wife beater. So we're both kind of what we're just kind of just showing up and podcasting from our heart. We're not dressing up in today's episode of the issues of sports. So this is totally different. This is like, not totally. They're both quote unquote attacks and gun violence, but this is, a targeted gentleman who worked at the Horseshoe Casino in Las Vegas, made his way across the country, and he claimed to have CTE. And 345 Park Avenue, my younger brother worked years ago doing sponsorships for the NFL, is the NFL's home office, who he was apparently targeting. But I don't really know. There is that aspect of, did he have, he claimed that I've read that he had headaches and all that, but there's that whole aspect of CTE and whatnot. But I kind of just loop this into, I'm not saying it happens all the time, but just like another mass shooting, another school shooting, what my mind immediately went to is like, you can't stop this. You can mitigate damages. You can make gun laws tighter. You can, whether it's a school shooting, whether it's at like the grocery store in Buffalo a couple of years ago, which was targeting an African American area. But they all are the Walmart in Uvalde, Texas, or how can you, if you and I wanted to walk into, or anybody, it doesn't matter, want to walk into a grocery store, with a semi-automatic rifle, you could probably kill a few people before somebody would take you out. And I just don't know. You can't be everywhere all the time, okay? And you can tighten up security around schools, and that's just where my mind went when this happened. It was just like, you know what? First, it's gosh darn it, like and just stupid. 4 people lose their lives for no reason whatsoever. But what my mind went to, like, you just can't. You can't stop this behavior. You can't, because it's random.
Random is one thing, and I get the fact alone, and we can go through all the minutia and the numbers and the casualties and who they were and all that. This is equivalent to a pandemic, an ongoing pandemic. When I read this, when I read the article originally, and there's been a lot of shootings going on. There was one in Reno, Nevada recently as well, where somebody approached a casino, shot and drove into the valet, shot a victim as he was going in, shot 2 more people, and they all died. And the guy ultimately succumbed to his injuries as well. So was that murder? Probably not. But this is an ongoing issue. And we can talk about stats throughout the United States, and we can look at all of the viable information, but there's one thing that really stuck out to me. 1 firearm-related death every 11 minutes. 11 minutes. 11. Not 10, 11.
What to do? Is that a gun? It can't all be a gun problem. It can't all be a mental health.
This is not a gun problem. This is not just a gun problem. This is a gun by itself is only going to cause damage if the person who who has the gun, pulls the trigger, and applies a certain amount of pounds on that trigger to change everything, to change someone's life, to change someone's inability to go on the next day, the next moment, the next minute, the next hour. We
How
could look back.
I just said to you,
There is no how. There
you
is
can't
no how.
you can't look inside every person's head and somebody's going to decide. It's not just like a supermarket. You could be at a sporting event in a parking lot and just open fire in the parking lot and shoot a bunch of people, like the Las Vegas Music Festival years ago. I'm just saying, you can get a gun in the parking lot of a concert or a sporting event, and if I want to, I'll be able to kill a few people if I even plan it out a little, and then probably somebody will shoot me. But you can't be everywhere all the time, and I don't think that they thought what was they supposed to do at 345 Park Avenue. I don't know if there were security protocols that were breached. I mean, the guy clearly just walked in there calmly, which actually is probably smart on some level, because even though he was holding a rifle in his hand, and you can see it in the photos, he just was probably so calm. It just nobody probably in the moment. Again, I'm just speculating, so I can't.
It's quite possible, but think about this: the fact alone that he walked up with a rifle in his hand, in his clutches, looking as calm as the day is long, goes into an elevator, kills a detective, kills another person who worked inside of that building, lets a lady walk out of the elevator. One person walking out of the elevator without any provocation whatsoever. Oh, have a great day. Take your gun and go somewhere else. And then he goes up and kills someone else. I mean, this is okay. First of all, we can ask the questions of when, who, where, how, and why, right? How does someone with a documented medical situation that he was documented with, he was documented from high school on towards the NFL, right? How did he get a gun? He had CTE. He had already shown mass amounts of issues. Matter of fact, he drank a gallon of antifreeze.
Yeah, that's what what's-his-face, Webster did of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I ended up committing suicide. But
That's correct.
So maybe he did have. I'm not saying he did or he didn't. I don't know. I don't know the guy. How much of somebody's actions. Like, yes, if your brain is damaged and it's not right, but a lot of people do have levels of emotional problems, and they don't all go out and commit murder. And look, I'm not. Who am I to not say that he had CTE or he did have CTE? CTE is a disease that's usually diagnosed, but I think he shot himself in the chest to preserve his brain, but it's usually diagnosed like Junior Seau. Yeah, but it's diagnosed after death. Okay, so he was saying, look at my brain. He supposedly got shots in his head for severe headaches or whatever. So it's hard to be compassionate to somebody who kills 4 people. If their brain is mashed up, I'm not minimizing that, but I think that there are a lot of people that may not have football-related head trauma, CTE injuries, and CTE still doesn't make everybody kill. Yeah, I understand, though. It did make Mike Webster self-destructive, and there were fits of rage with a lot of people who have CTE, and I'm not. I guess I don't know where to go with this CTE. You treat it the best you can. You change the rules of sports like the NFL and boxing and whatnot, but there's an inherent risk if you get punched in the head in boxing, that it's just part of the job. Like, that is part of your, not to.
That's what you go through as an NFL player. I mean, there are lots of players, and whether or not they were found to have CTE after they were gone, only until recently, and when I'm talking about within the last 10 to 15 years, has CTE been the main factor as to why these guys have done what they've done to themselves or to other people.
Yeah.
CTE predominantly, again, as you stated, posthumous, doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't have it, but the only way to verify that they did have it
Yeah.
is to go through all the motions, go through the science, and find out if he in fact did have CTE. We don't know that yet. The investigation is still underway in regards to this, but
Aaron
when
Hernandez had CTE. They found that out after he commits suicide in jail. And but he was causing trouble all the way like back into high school in Bristol, Connecticut and whatnot. Did he have CTE then? Maybe, because they have found that it can, in high school players, yes. But look, I'm not saying statistic. It's just, I think just with shootings like this, you can't know who's got what, and anybody who's going to plan something like this out. And the guy still worked at the Horseshoe Casino or whatever in Vegas, so he held down a job, but
and he was in security, no less.
yes,
He worked in security. So how can somebody not have at least some type of awareness or knowledge
yeah,
leaving from a secure casino with things that are being held very tight, right? You go in, you transfer money, there's a protocol, you have to follow those protocols. Well, he had his own protocol, and his protocol was to leave his job, not report in on a Sunday, which he was reported late and a no-show, travel all the way across the country, ended up getting to the NFL offices at 6:30 p.m. in just a couple of days to address who, we don't really know. But there were casualties along the way, and that's what we do know. And the sad part about this whole entire thing is that not one person in the NFL was shot, but people along the way, because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time with someone in an elevator who had potential mental trauma, some mental health problems, shot them
nobody.
for no reason whatsoever.
I have not kept a close eye on this story, but it doesn't seem like the people that were shot, that it was more by happenstance, like wrong place, wrong time, than they were targeted victims. And just something occurred to me when you said like how he walked by the lady in the elevator after murdering, and it just for some reason didn't. Like the Idaho killer with the knife, Brian Koberger, there were six girls in that house.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Killed four of them, and supposedly one who said he had big bushy eyebrows looked right at him, and he just walked right past her. And that it just brings up like they speculated, like criminologists on TV, like to your point now, taking this back to why he just like nodded to a lady and then went on to skip this person. And I like, it could be like as simple of like they said with Koberger, like maybe he was tired, he didn't feel like murdering in that moment, for like just like a quick thought, like don't over
just a momentary lapse, just a momentary lapse. You know what that
or was like
that's actually a really good point.
Yeah, or was like satiated for the moment. Like I just killed two people. I'm good for a second, and then I'll go. I don't know.
He shrugged off what he actually had done. It was a mental pause to say, you know what? I think she gets a free pass today.
I don't. Or maybe I mean, think that. Just thinks like, you know what? I needed to go. I need to gather myself. I'm just not. Just maybe it was just
exactly
luck.
Yeah,
it could be luck, but. I mean, the Kobergers is not comparable to what we're talking about here. Yes, it's just breaking and entering and murdering.
But his was premeditated. Koberger's, he was completely in the know. He was cognizant of it, and he just said
he planned it out.
He did. It was premeditated completely. Whereas a guy, I'll give you a good example. Stephen Paddock, 64 years old. Goes to Mandalay Bay Hotel in Las Vegas, pins himself in on the 32nd floor suite, and rifles off 1,000 rounds of ammunition into an open crowd. You mentioned it earlier. He killed 60 people.
Yeah, the Las Vegas Music Festival. Was that
Yep.
you did?
Yep.
That okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So not only that, but
all these. That's what I'm saying. Where it's like it's just like when I say you can't stop it, the perpetrator doesn't. Odds are he may be targeting the festival for some reason. He may have something against the festival organizers. But when you're spraying bullets from far away into a crowd, or like James Holmes in 2012 in the Batman movie in Aurora, Colorado, just shooting people up with an AR-15 in a dark movie theater, you have no idea who you're just ending, whose lives you're ending. It doesn't matter. There's no how to stop this kind of just you don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. Gun laws, tighten them. Mental health, get better resources. I don't know. I'm not minimizing. I'm saying it's just I keep going back to what I keep saying. If you or I or anyone want to walk into a grocery store or a place like or a church where people are congregating, just in the lobby, like there might be security with the gun there, maybe not, but you know,
Mhm.
I'm just saying a lot like I don't know, or you go into a department store or something like that before somebody gets to you. You could end probably 3 or 4 lives if you you know, did it meticulous enough or whatever. And I'm not saying I'm saying that it's just like I feel like, and you brought up like I lived in Aspen, Colorado from '98 to 2000 out of college, and I've dated a girl who was a fifth-year senior at Ohio State, and I flew to Columbus, and I flew out of Denver, not Aspen. So I drove there, and when I drove back, it was right when Columbine happened, and I feel like that was like the the event that started this cascade. Eric Harris, Dylan Klebold. I went to Littleton on my way back from Columbus. I drove 25 minutes from the airport in Denver, and I went to the Columbine Memorial. And I remember there was like MSNBC and all these stages, it was setups at the and all the. I had no clue. This was 25 years ago that from Newtown, Connecticut to I don't have to Parkland, Florida to uh, the church in Charleston and Dillon Roof. Like it's like you can name though some of these instances or incidents over the years, and it doesn't happen like in other countries, not to the level it does in this country. It happens in other countries, like in Paris. It's happened a few times, but not like this country. And I just think statistically, not dying in public is odds are in everybody's favor. But it's I think it's just kind of luck now. Like those 4 people in at 345 Park Avenue. Okay, it's a notable building. Any of these people felt like that when they showed up to work that day that their lives would be on the line. Like no, they just went to work. They just went about their like it's they didn't do the same thing that you and I do, and everybody does. They just went about their daily lives, and somebody just busted in and ended 4 people's lives for no reason. No reason.
there have you can put protocols in place from a preemptive measure, meaning that if there are buildings that are locked away, I'm just using this as a very small example on a very small scale, not to minimize the fact that they lost their lives, but on a pre-countermeasure to say, well, we need to make sure that whoever has this access can only get in with the special key or some type of fingerprint scan. There has to be something to secure the building disabling. I mean, if he wanted to get in and cause a ruckus, yeah, sure, he could shoot the window. But at the same token, he'd be on camera. We don't know what camera footage they had inside of that building at the NFL offices. I'm assuming they were everywhere. We don't know. The investigation is ongoing. But at least there's something to help, someone hears a shot ring, they're not going to stand around twiddling their thumbs or playing checkers or chess. They're going to get out. They're going to leave, and they're going to go somewhere, at least to safety, something.
But
because at least they would have a fair chance, knowing that there's a shot ringing out in the general vicinity, to go somewhere else.
what the Blackstone employees did, trying to delay the perpetrator by putting the furniture against the wall. Did you see that with how they supposedly they did? I heard that was exactly the right thing to do. Like, if you want to delay somebody who's got a gun or you're trying to like make it much harder for him to enter your space, because hopefully authorities will care. But they did all like, so they knew that there was insanity going on. It's just, I don't know. I feel like it's life. It's a roulette spin, and if you happen to be at the bottom of somebody shooting bullets at Mandalay Bay and one hits you, what'd you do wrong? Like, the only way to not have these situations is to go like HIV and be abstinent, or like COVID, don't go outside, just don't do it across the board. And odds are probably likely that and that means going to work too, because all these people did was go to work, including the police officer was working. I'm just saying, like, if you don't want to die, and I'm not saying odds are you won't die, but there's just it's random acts of violence, and you can't control that.
And there's really nothing. There's nothing anybody can do about it. The only person that can do anything about it are the ones who are maybe on a premeditated capacity. They have the mental stability to choose right from wrong. They're not losing their marbles.
It takes one loose cannon to go to to the grocery store and end lives. It doesn't take you can't. You're not inside a lot of, and many times, not always. Some of them have documented histories. Others, it's like they don't. And a lot of times, it's like with the school shootings or it's like angry 17-year-old, and who was picked on or whatever. And I'm not saying that's all of them. It's not, but it tends to be. It tends to be that kind of criminal prime, 17-year-old, give or take. It's a generalization, but
it's ongoing. Think about it like this. It's so in 2023, just 2023 alone, we're talking 2 years removed from current dates. I'm sure the number has doubled or increased, but just to give the viewers some perspective, there were 46,728 incidents of individuals who lost their lives to firearms. 46,000.
6,000 people died due to guns.
Yep. And that was just 2 years ago. Can you imagine where the number is now? Triple.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, you can play that Russian roulette deal if you want. You say, you know what? I'm going to stay home. I can work remote. It can be.
I think my point is, though, if you get shot and you're in LA and you're like the plaza outside of crypto.com arena and you're just hanging out with Laker fans or Clipper fans, and you catch a bullet out there, what are you doing? You're not doing anything wrong. You're just there's no explanation. There's no, it doesn't, and does the explanation even matter?
No, and there's no way you can justify that either. Nobody can justify that. The only person that can justify it is the one shooting the gun. Oh, well, I didn't like this person or that person. Well, let's look into that. No. If they're alive. Well, now we have questions that we can ask. And if there are no questions that we can ask from that aspect of it, the person's dead. And then what questions do you have to ask? We'll go unanswered.
Yeah, listen, if your family or friends, you have questions like Brian Koberger, back to him, he didn't answer, he didn't really give his motive, and he never really knew that it's documented. He did not have. He may have with one of the victims, the first one, I think, Maddie. He may have asked her out, and she said no. One of them, but and maybe that was all he intended to kill, and then there were more people. I don't know, but he never, during his guilty plea or any of that, revealed a motive or or any sort of like remorse, which is whatever. But it, it's crazy. If somebody, we've all been turned down for dates and felt rejected or whatever. It happens all the time. All right.
Yep, it sure does.
I mean, you just got. I'm not. Nobody necessarily likes it, but I mean, we don't stab people 50 times or whatever necessarily because of that. And if you feel the need to do that to other people, like just go get rid of yourself. And I mean, just get rid of yourself. If you're going to go do that to other people, you don't need to take other people with you or whatever. If you need to do that, like if you have to
A lot of people share that. A lot of people share that sentiment. I mean, you go back to the old, to the olden days, back in the 1800s or early 1900s, when the U.S. was, kind of forming who they were, and they would have laws and rules about this stuff. Well, you kill someone, we're going to hang you from a tree. Or if you shoot that person, we're going to put you in jail and then we'll execute you. There were certain rules that you lived by because it was known as the Wild Wild West. Well, it's not wild anymore to that extent as far as using those types of rules and regulations to get rid of people that do these types of crimes. Now it's punishment. Now we put them in prison. Now we put them in jail at the taxpayer's expense. I'm not suggesting to off people because they kill someone, but there are those that do. I'm strongly, obviously, as anybody else who's watching this, strongly may not agree with the fact that there should be executions happening more often. And those on the other side of the fence and say, you know what, let's just put them in a rehabilitation mode and rehab them. So that way they may be able to, and I say may, and I'm using that word very loosely, be able to be very productive individuals in society. So there are two sides to all of this. The problem is that there is no right answer.
I agree. There's no right answer. And that is how we're going to end this podcast, because I wish we could end the podcast being like, you know what? This is what's going to fix the problem. But I actually don't think the problem's fixable. I don't think the problem's, I don't think that, I don't think that's being, I don't have a solution. And that's,
and nobody does.
Right. So, Rude Dog, a nice little chat. Get back together here. Sometimes it's nice to just talk it out at least, and just kind of even just express mutual frustration. Because my heart breaks for these victims who are dead for no reason, for just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But Rude Dog, you get back to whatever you're doing in that room, and I'm going to continue with my evening wearing my tank top and my fly house.
You enjoy.
All right. So for Rude Dog Reyes, I am EMAC Evan Makovsky. This is the Issues of Sports, and we will see you on the next episode.